Someone makes the comment. It is small enough that everyone else could pretend it was harmless, but precise enough that you know what they were doing. The tone is casual. The timing is deliberate. There are other people nearby. And for 1 second, you can feel the room waiting to see what you will do. Your chest tightens. Your face becomes warm. A reply appears before your judgment has arrived. You want to correct them, expose them, or make sure nobody mistakes your silence for weakness. So you answer quickly. Maybe your words are sharper than you intended. Maybe they smile because the reaction was the result they wanted. Maybe the conversation becomes an argument. Or maybe you say nothing in the room, then spend the next 3 hours continuing the argument inside your head. You replay their face. You improve your response. You imagine the version of the scene in which everyone finally understands you. The provocation lasted 10 seconds. Your reaction keeps paying for it all evening. This video is not about becoming emotionless. It is not about letting people disrespect you, and it is not about memorizing one perfect sentence that will defeat every difficult person. It is about something more useful, learning to feel the trigger without giving it command of your behavior. We will return to that same scene 3 times. First, as it usually happens, then with a trained pause, finally, with a response that is calm, clear, and strong enough to protect your dignity. The central idea is simple. A provocation is an invitation to abandon your judgment. You do not have to accept it. The first victory is not saying something impressive. It is preventing another person's intention from deciding the kind of person you become in the next minute. Before you give them an answer, do not give them the moment. Not every rude remark is a calculated trap. People can be careless, defensive, tired, insecure, or simply wrong. We should not invent motives we cannot verify, but sometimes the pattern is clear. The person changes their tone when an audience appears. They touch the subject they know is sensitive. They interrupt just before you finish. They make an accusation broad enough to force you into a long defense. If you remain calm, they add another comment. What are they seeking? Often, they are seeking movement inside you. They want your voice to rise. They want you to abandon the original issue. They want the conversation to become about your reaction instead of their conduct. Once that happens, the evidence changes. Their provocation disappears behind your anger. This is why immediate reaction can be so expensive. It gives the other person material they did not have before. Imagine a man standing outside a fortified gate. He cannot command the city from outside. He can shout. He can throw stones. He can create noise. But the gate only opens from within. Your attention is that gate. Your need to be understood is that gate. Your fear of looking weak is that gate. The person may provide the pressure, but your automatic reaction opens the entrance. This does not mean you are responsible for their disrespect. Their conduct belongs to them. Your task is not to excuse it. Your task is to stop adding your own loss of control to the harm they already chose. A practical Stoic principle begins here. Other people's words, motives, and judgments are not fully under your control. Your attention, speech, movement, and participation are closer to your responsibility. That is a paraphrase of the Stoic distinction between what depends on us and what does not. It is not a promise that control will feel easy. It is a direction for practice. Ask yourself, what part of this moment still belongs to me? Your first sensation may not. Your final action can. The insult may already exist. Your participation is still undecided. Many people make emotional control harder by demanding the wrong thing from themselves. They believe a controlled person should not feel the sting. The heart should remain slow. The face should remain cold. The mind should produce perfect clarity without effort. That expectation creates a second conflict. First, another person provokes you. Then you become angry at yourself for being affected. Now you are fighting the situation and your own nervous system at the same time. Control does not begin by denying the first movement. It begins by refusing to turn the first movement into a final decision. The body reacts quickly, because it is trying to protect status, safety, belonging, or dignity. Heat rises. Muscles prepare. Attention narrows. The mind starts searching for danger and for the sentence that will end it. This activation is information. It is not an instruction. You can notice anger without performing anger. You can notice fear without submitting to fear. You can notice the desire to defend yourself without beginning a 10-minute defense. Suppression says, "I am not angry." Then the anger leaks through sarcasm, cold punishment, or delayed explosion. Self-command says, "Anger is here." It will not write the next sentence by itself. That distinction matters, because a calm exterior can still hide an uncontrolled motive. Silence used to punish is still a reaction. Walking away so the other person will panic is still an attempt to control them. Speaking softly while planning revenge is not peace. The goal is not the appearance of control. It is the recovery of choice. Try a private sentence that does not need to be spoken aloud. My body is activated. My judgment is still available. That sentence does not erase the emotion. It creates enough separation to see it. The Stoics trained themselves to examine impressions before giving them full agreement. In practical language, an impression is the first story a moment presents. I am being humiliated. I must answer now. Silence will prove them right. The first story may contain truth. It may also contain fear, prediction, and wounded pride. You do not need to reject it immediately. You need to inspect it before obeying it. Provocation works best when it attaches itself to an old fear. For one person, the fear is being seen as weak. For another, it is being misunderstood. For another, it is losing approval. For another, it is allowing a lie to remain in the room. The comment hurts, but the deeper pressure comes from what you believe will happen if you do not respond immediately. Maybe you learned that respect belongs to the person who speaks last. Maybe past relationships trained you to explain every decision before it could be attacked. Maybe you grew used to environments where silence was treated as guilt. Now every provocation feels like a trial, and every trial seems to require a defense. But most moments are not courts. Most audiences are not juries. And your dignity is not a public vote that closes after 30 seconds. There are times when a false statement should be corrected. There are situations where silence can harm your work, reputation, or another person. Calmness is not a rule against speaking. The question is whether the moment requires a response, or whether your fear requires immediate relief. Those are not the same. Immediate defense often feels powerful because it reduces uncertainty. You have done something. You have pushed back. You have filled the silence. But relief is not always wisdom. You can relieve the pressure by shouting and create a larger problem. You can relieve the fear of misunderstanding by over-explaining and teach the other person that accusations will always purchase more access to you. You can relieve the fear of weakness by entering an argument designed to make you look unstable. Before responding, identify the fear beneath the urgency. I am afraid they will think they won. I am afraid the room will believe them. I am afraid I will hate myself later if I say nothing. Once the fear is named, it becomes part of the decision instead of the hidden author of the decision. Your objective is not to look unbothered. Your objective is to act in a way you can respect after the room is empty. When provocation arrives, complex philosophy may be too slow. You need a short sequence that can survive pressure. Use 3 words: body, fact, choice. First, body. Do not begin with the other person's character. Begin with what is happening inside you. Feel both feet on the ground. Release the jaw. Lower the shoulders. Let one breath leave more slowly than it entered. You are not trying to become peaceful in one breath. You are interrupting acceleration. If possible, delay your first sentence by 2 seconds. 2 seconds can feel enormous when someone is waiting for a reaction. That is why the pause has value. It returns the timing of your response to you. Second, fact. Describe the event without adding a complete theory of the person. Fact. They interrupted you twice. Story. They have never respected you. Fact. They made a joke about your decision in front of others. Story. Everyone in the room now sees you as weak. Fact, their voice became louder. Story, they are dangerous and I must dominate the exchange. The story may later prove partly true, but the fact is enough to guide your next action without turning one moment into an entire universe. Third, choice. Ask, what outcome am I responsible for now? Not, how do I make them regret this? Not, how do I control what everyone thinks? Not, what sentence will make me look strongest? Choose the smallest action that protects the real standard. Sometimes that action is a question. Sometimes it is a correction. Sometimes it is a boundary. Sometimes it is leaving. Sometimes it is documenting the event and addressing it later with the right person. Body. Fact. Choice. The sequence does not guarantee comfort. It gives discomfort a structure. Practice it when the stakes are low. Use it when someone interrupts. Use it when a message annoys you. Use it when a stranger is impatient. The point is to build a path your mind can find when the larger provocation comes. Self-command is rarely created during the hardest moment. It is revealed there after being practiced elsewhere. Once you pause, you still need to decide what to do. There is no single sentence for every provocation because different situations require different responsibilities. There are 4 broad responses. The first is clarification. Use it when the comment may be careless, ambiguous, or repairable. What do you mean by that? Are you asking a question or making a judgment? Can you say that directly? A clean question removes the protection of vagueness. It also gives a reasonable person a chance to correct themselves. Do not ask the question with a theatrical smile or hidden threat. Ask because you want information. The second response is correction. Use it when a material fact matters. That is not what happened. The decision was made after the deadline changed. Correct the point. Do not defend your entire identity. A factual correction should be shorter than the accusation whenever possible. The third response is a boundary. Use it when the manner of the exchange is the problem. I will discuss the issue, but not while I am being mocked. If you keep interrupting, I am ending this conversation. We can continue when the conversation is respectful. A boundary is not a spell that forces respect. It is a statement about your participation. The fourth response is exit and later action. Use it when the person is committed to escalation, the setting is unsafe, or the issue needs evidence rather than performance. I am not continuing this here. Then leave, end the call, stop replying, or move the matter into a formal channel. Exiting is not always passive. Sometimes it is the only response that refuses the other person's chosen arena. Notice what these 4 responses do not include. They do not include proving your worth. They do not include diagnosing the other person. They do not include explaining every wound they caused. They do not require the other person to agree that your response was reasonable. Clarify. Correct. Set a boundary. Exit and act later. The best response is the one that serves reality and preserves your ability to choose again. Consider how the same principle changes across settings. In a family conversation, someone may say, "You have always been too sensitive." A 10-minute defense of your entire childhood will probably move you farther from the present issue. Clarification may be enough. What specific behavior are you asking me to address now? In a relationship, someone may turn your concern into a joke. The standard is not winning the joke. It is whether the concern can be discussed seriously. I am willing to talk about this. I am not willing to have it mocked. At work, a colleague may challenge your competence in front of others. The factual record matters more than a contest of tone. The current numbers are in the report. If you see an error, point to the line and we will review it. Online, a stranger may combine an insult with a distorted question. You are not required to convert every comment section into a courtroom. Delete, block, ignore, or answer once according to the purpose of the space. The response changes because the responsibility changes. With a loved one, repair may matter. At work, documentation may matter. In public, a concise correction may matter. With a stranger seeking attention, nothing may be gained by participation. Do not ask which response looks most stoic. Ask which response serves the situation without surrendering your character. Return to the original scene. You are speaking in a group when someone says, "You always make everything more complicated than it needs to be." The first time, the automatic reaction takes control. That is not true. You are the one who changed the plan, and everyone here knows you never listen. Now the conversation has moved from one comment to two identities. They accuse you again. You produce history. The audience becomes more important. Your voice becomes faster. Even if your facts are correct, your judgment is no longer leading. The second time, you try silence without inner control. You say nothing. But your silence is full of punishment. You stare at them, withdraw from everyone else, and spend the evening composing a better response. Outwardly, you were quiet. Inwardly, they still controlled the next 4 hours. Silence alone is not the skill. Now the third time, the comment arrives. You always make everything more complicated than it needs to be. Body. You feel your feet. Your jaw releases. One breath leaves slowly. Fact. They made a broad personal judgment instead of addressing the proposal. Choice. The meeting needs clarity. The personal attack does not deserve a personal defense. You answer, "If there is a problem with the proposal, name the specific part. I am not discussing personal judgments." Then you stop. They may correct themselves. They may become more provocative. If they do, your next action is already clearer. Then we can continue this later. The strength of the response is not that it humiliates them. It is that it does not abandon your purpose. You came to discuss a proposal. You return to the proposal. You came to resolve an issue. You refuse to turn the issue into a contest of wounds. This is what control looks like in real life. Not perfect calm, not a frozen face, not a sentence that makes the room admire you. A feeling appears. A pause creates space. A standard chooses the action. You may still feel angry afterward. That does not erase the quality of the response. Success is not the absence of emotion. Success is that the emotion did not make the decision alone. If one person provokes you repeatedly, stop treating every incident as a surprise. Preparation is not obsession. It is the decision to meet a known pattern with a chosen standard. Before the next interaction, write down 3 things. First, the predictable hook. Maybe they question your competence in public. Maybe they use sarcasm when you say no. Maybe they bring up your past when the current issue is not going their way. Name the hook in plain language. Second, the standard you are protecting. Clarity, respect, privacy, time, safety, the ability to finish a sentence. Do not prepare to protect your ego in general. Prepare to protect one observable standard. Third, the action you will take. If they make a personal remark, I will ask for the specific issue once. If they interrupt again, I will end the call. If they accuse me by message, I will wait 30 minutes and answer only the factual point. If the meeting becomes abusive, I will leave and document what happened. This preparation removes some of the improvisation that provocation depends on. You can also rehearse your tone. Say the sentence aloud once. Remove extra explanation. Remove the insult hidden inside the sentence. Remove the threat you do not intend to enforce. Keep the words you can carry calmly. Premeditation in Stoic practice involved considering difficulties before they arrived, not to create anxiety, but to reduce astonishment and prepare character. That is a paraphrase of the practice, not a direct quotation. The important part is not imagining every possible attack. It is deciding who you intend to be when pressure appears. You may prepare and still react badly. Do not turn one failure into an identity. Review the moment. Where did the body accelerate? Which story created urgency? Which action would have served the standard? Then rehearse that transition. Training is not proof that you are weak. It is how a value becomes available under pressure. Preparation also includes reducing avoidable exposure. If a person repeatedly uses private information to provoke you, give them less private information. If every late-night message turns into a circular argument, do not begin serious conversations at midnight. If a meeting becomes chaotic because there is no written agenda, bring the agenda. If you know that alcohol, exhaustion, or an audience makes the pattern worse, account for that before entering the situation. This is not controlling the other person. It is designing your own participation with greater accuracy. You can also choose a physical anchor. Touch 2 fingers together. Place both hands on the table. Look at one fixed point for a second. The gesture is not magic. Its purpose is to remind the body that a practiced sequence exists. Then use one prepared opening. Be specific. I need a moment before I answer. We are leaving the issue. I will continue when the tone changes. Prepared language should remain flexible. It is a doorway into judgment, not a script you force onto every scene. Sometimes you respond well, and the provocation still follows you. The conversation ends, but your mind keeps reopening it. You imagine what the other person is saying now. You wonder whether your response was too soft, then you wonder whether it was too harsh. You build alternate scenes and ask each one to give you certainty. This is the second half of emotional control. The first half is how you behave in the room. The second half is how you stop the room from living inside you. Use a short recovery process. First, record the facts once. If the situation matters, write what happened, what was said, what you did, and what action is needed. This is useful for work, repeated boundary violations, or any event that may require follow-up. Facts stored on paper do not need to be carried continuously in working memory. Second, name the unfinished responsibility. Do you need to send one email, speak to a manager, change access, apologize for your tone without withdrawing your boundary, or is there nothing left to do? An unfinished action should become a scheduled action, not an endless mental rehearsal. Third, refuse imaginary trials. You cannot control every private interpretation. You do not need to argue with a version of the person who is not in the room. When the replay begins, ask, is there new information or only another performance of the same pain? If there is new information, use it. If there is not, return to the next real responsibility in front of you. Fourth, let the body finish. Walk, breathe, drink water, sit somewhere quiet. The body may need time to leave the defensive state even after the decision is complete. This is not indulgence. It is closing the event instead of demanding that the body obey instantly. Finally, evaluate yourself by the standard you chose, not by whether the other person approved. Did you remain factual? Did you protect the boundary? Did you avoid unnecessary harm? Did you take the next responsible action? Then the event can become instruction instead of residence. There is another useful distinction: reflection versus rehearsal. Reflection produces something. It identifies the fact, the lesson, the next action, or the repair you owe. Rehearsal produces only another emotional performance. The same accusation, the same imaginary audience, the same victory that never becomes necessary. Set a limit for reflection. 10 quiet minutes with paper may teach you more than 3 hours of mental argument. Write 4 lines. What happened? What did I feel? What did I choose? What will I do next? If you reacted poorly, responsibility may include an apology. Keep it precise. My tone was disrespectful. I should not have spoken that way. An apology for your conduct does not require pretending the provocation was acceptable. The concern still needs to be addressed, and I will discuss it when we can do that without personal attacks. This is mature accountability. You reclaim your part without carrying theirs. If you responded well but still feel unsettled, do not keep changing the standard until the emotion disappears. A wise decision can leave an uncomfortable body behind. Let discomfort pass without reopening a completed case. There is an important danger in advice about not reacting. It can be misused to tell people to tolerate what should be addressed. Calm does not mean staying available to abuse. Silence does not mean protecting someone else's reputation at the cost of your safety. Detachment does not mean refusing evidence, and Stoicism does not require remaining in every room. If a situation involves threats, coercion, stalking, violence, discrimination, or serious workplace misconduct, the wise response may involve distance, documentation, formal reporting, or qualified support. This video is educational and reflective. It is not a substitute for professional, legal, workplace, or safety guidance. The purpose of self-command is not to make you easier to mistreat. It is to help you act without giving panic, rage, or approval-seeking complete authority. Sometimes the calm action is firm. Sometimes it disappoints people. Sometimes it ends access. Sometimes it tells the truth in a room that would prefer your silence. The difference is that the action comes from a considered standard, not from the other person's ability to control your temperature. You do not owe everyone softness. You do owe yourself accuracy. Do not call revenge a boundary. Do not call fear peace. Do not call suppression strength. Do not call endless tolerance virtue. The Stoic question is not, how can I feel nothing? It is, what does character require from me now? That question may lead to a quiet answer. It may lead to a direct answer. It may lead to leaving and making a serious report later. Calm is not the absence of action. Calm is action that still belongs to you. This matters especially for people who have spent years confusing goodness with availability. They believe a calm person must answer every message. A mature person must listen to every accusation. A loving person must remain in every conversation. A strong person must never need distance. None of those claims is automatically true. Availability is a decision. Listening has conditions. Love can include limits. Distance can be a responsible response to a pattern. Emotional control should expand your choices, not reduce them to quiet endurance. Sometimes people will call your new restraint cold because your old reactivity gave them immediate access. They could provoke you and receive an explanation, an argument, reassurance, or another opportunity to define the terms. When that access changes, they may say, "You have changed." They may be correct. The question is whether the change is governed by bitterness or by clearer judgment. Bitterness wants them to suffer. Clear judgment wants the pattern to stop. Bitterness keeps watching for their reaction. Clear judgment returns attention to the life beyond them. That difference may be invisible to an audience, but it is visible inside your motive. The next time someone tries to provoke you, remember the sequence. You do not need to win the room. You need to keep the next minute. Feel the body without obeying it. Separate the fact from the story. Choose the smallest action that protects the real standard. Clarify when the moment is repairable. Correct when a fact matters. Set a boundary when the manner is unacceptable. Leave and act later when the arena itself is the trap. Then close the event. Record what matters. Schedule what remains. Stop arguing with people who are no longer present. There will be moments when you fail. You will answer too quickly. You will explain too much. You will think of the better sentence after the door has closed. Do not use the failure as permission to remain automatic. Study it. Find the point where choice disappeared. Practice that point. The person who provokes you is trying, intentionally or not, to make their state become your behavior. Your work is to break that transfer. Not by becoming stone, not by pretending you do not care, not by performing silence so they will chase you, by remaining close enough to your values that another person's disorder does not become your instruction. They can offer the insult. They can raise the pressure. They can misunderstand your pause, but they cannot make the final decision unless you hand it over. Keep your breath. Keep the fact. Keep the choice. And keep the next minute. If this reflection helped you see provocation more clearly, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need this reminder.